It's all about having the key insights, following the leaders of the crypto industry and background stories on blockchain technology trends to keep you one step ahead. Monty Metzger, CEO of LCX.com, keeps you up to speed with what's moving global crypto markets and gives you the latest insights about LCX's platform and ecosystem. This is LCX Insights Live.
Welcome to LCX Insights Live. I'm super excited and thrilled to welcome you all on this Wednesday. It's May 19th, 2021, an exciting day and an exciting LCX Insights Live session. In our Insights Live sessions, I'm always engaging with the world's top blockchain projects, entrepreneurs and investors, and pioneers in crypto and in blockchain in honest conversations meant to challenge traditional ways of thinking. My name is Monty Metzger. I'm founder and CEO at LCX.com. LCX is a regulated fintech company that focuses on digital asset trading, compliant token offerings, and tokenization. LCX recently received 8 blockchain-related approvals by the Liechtenstein regulator, more than any other company in the country. Liechtenstein itself is a country next to Switzerland and Austria in the middle of Europe and has received a AAA country rating from Standard & Poor's. That's the highest country rating a country can get. Liechtenstein has introduced the most forward-thinking legal framework for cryptocurrencies and blockchain companies, providing legal clarity and security for LCX users. So today's show title is The Truth About Enterprise Blockchain in Interoperability. And I'm excited to welcome a special guest. Our guest has over 20 years of cybersecurity experience and C-level accountability as a CIO and CTO. He is recognized as a pioneer in cybersecurity and digital ledger technology, DLT. He has held senior roles in UK and Australian governments, working in Downing Street, HM's Treasury at the Cabinet Office, and so on. Also had been working in private sector at MasterCard, PwC, HSBC, and he is one of the first to understand the importance of interoperability in driving mass adoption of blockchain-based infrastructures. So already back in 2015, he created the blockchain ISO standard TC307, which has since then become an international effort with 53 countries involved and working together to standardize the technology. He is also chair of the UK's National Committee on Blockchain and Distributed Ledger Technologies, as well as the Interoperability Working Group for ISO. He also sits on the committee of the Federal Reserve, the European Union's Blockchain Observatory, Pay UK's Cybersecurity Board, and UK Government's DLT Committee. He is known to be the CEO and founder of Quant on Quant Network. Please welcome Mr. Gilbert Verdian. Let's activate him here. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Monty. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Yes, we are excited to have you here as well. And this will be a lively discussion. Everybody is invited to post their questions. Just post them on YouTube in the comment section and we'll pick the best questions. For the best question, we are also giving away an award. So today we're giving away one of our LCX caps. So we'll pick the best question afterwards and then let you know on Twitter who won this. So let's get right into that. LCX Insights Live, the truth about enterprise blockchain and interoperability. So Gilbert, what is Quant? Let's start with that question.
Thank you, Monty. So Quant, we're a technology platform. We've solved interoperability between permissioned and permissionless DLTs. What we're doing today is not only enabling interoperability, but enabling the connectivity between networks, so distributed ledger networks. And that's the core of our technology, is about connectivity and allowing that seamless adoption from a enterprise use and a developer use perspective, simplifying how blockchains operate because they're extremely complex, and enabling that to be really fit for the future. We want our technology to be embedded at the core of governments, of infrastructure, of enterprise, and for it to be there for the next 10, 30, 20 years or more.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that's a good first introduction now about what you do. But there are a few components, and let's break it down step by step, and then you can explain. So first of all, there is the QNT token, the Quant token. It's also traded at LCX exchange at exchange.lcx.com. Gilbert, what is the Quant token, and what are the token economics behind it?
Yeah, thank you. So the QNT token is something that we minted in 2018 as a way to secure the network and as a way to bill and charge for licenses and for the utilization and the utility of the network. So at its pure sense, we did everything to the core as making it as a utility token, and it's actually evolved. So QNT is with what's coming in the first half of 2021, which is not that long from now. The Overledger network is going live. We'll be having anyone hosting gateways to run their own gateway on their own servers and their infrastructure. That means they will pay for licenses in QNT, and all the transactions can be billed using QNT across the network. And so our job is to create this open ecosystem where anyone can be a participant, where is in the background bringing enterprise and institutional use cases to the network. We have lots and lots of meetings every week with governments, with enterprise, with institutions, with clients who want to build new technology and new what we call MDAPs, so multi DLT, distributed applications on top of the network. So the QNT token is at the core of everything that we're doing. And what happens is if you own gateways and you run this on the network, when you process transactions, you get paid in QNT. It's a great ecosystem that we're building, and this will evolve. We want to make it the currency and the payment option for all the data and the transactions that are being put on the network, so people can actually trade in QNT, and it can be used for hundreds and hundreds of use cases around AI, data. If you want to do an MDAP on payments, if you want to do an MDAP as an exchange, if you want to do anything, computes, if you want to create like an AWS equivalent on the Overledger network, all of this is possible. So QNT has just become that pure utility token that can be used for everything.
And then looking at the platform itself and your company, I mean, it's not just a vision and an idea. You actually build the core infrastructure already. Can you give us a rundown on what's the product? Where do you stand in terms of the development?
Yeah, so Overledger has been live since 2018, so we're very early to build a technology. We solved interoperability as one of the earliest ways we've seen, and we built it that's enterprise ready. The idea is you want a technology that's easy to use and integrate to an existing enterprise platform or a financial system or other type of system. We did interoperability when no one thought interoperability was a problem. But now in 2021, you can see, why are people being limited to a single DLT? You can't force everyone to run on the one blockchain. You can't connect other blockchains easily. So our approach is really, that enterprise wrapper and that grade, that pedigree of technology that is easy to implement for a large scale organization. So interoperability today is really all about how do I make my DLT that I've picked, and everyone has different preferences. They use private permissions or public permissionless. How do I make my DLT and my systems and my applications talk to other DLTs? Because I need to trade and transact with other partners. I need to have cross-border transactions. I need to do remittance. I need to do a supply chain that has 3 or 4 or 5 DLTs. And how do I put them all together and make them talk to each other? So our technology is at its core. What we've done is created an API gateway. We've created it in a way where enterprise can understand how to use it and integrate it into their environment. It's based on standards. So basically what that means is you have one gateway and one messaging standard to access all the different types of DLTs. So you don't have to reinvent things each time your applications are running across different DLTs. You just use Overledger. It's a simple and seamless way to access all the DLTs. And we bring not only the simplicity to blockchain, because we've taken all that complexity away, we've enabled anyone using Overledger and having access to the Overledger network to have distributed ledger network interoperability. So we can connect all of these networks, and we've already started doing that, where we're connecting countries and regions and enterprise networks to the Overledger network. So when people are transacting across blockchain, they can actually say, I would like to do this with this person on that other network, that external network. And Overledger does that for you. So the scope and the scale of Overledger network is actually a lot bigger than what we anticipated when we first architected the thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, looking at your technology and the platform itself, on your website, there are 4 key categories. There's the Overledger Enterprise, Overledger Network Enterprise, Overledger Community Network, and SEAK. So let's answer that step by step. Gilbert, what is Overledger Enterprise in simple words?
So the Overledger Enterprise is when a company hosts their own Overledger instance. They can actually host it within their data center. We've done deployments where it's on-prem within the company's data center for sovereignty or security reasons. It's within their environment. We've also have that option to host that in cloud, and we're doing that for other customers where they want it within Oracle Cloud or AWS Cloud or other cloud instances. And then what happens is that is a dedicated instance for them. They use that for their use cases and their applications. And then that has an option to connect to the Overledger network through the gateways that we have. And enterprise can host gateways. So there's an option for them to have their Overledger instance part of the Overledger network, so to host gateways. We also can actually host gateways and nodes for companies. So that's a service that we offer for them. And then that allows the enterprise customer to have access to the wider ecosystem. So it's if you think about it, it's an enterprise product built for enterprise customers with all the support and SLAs and the agreements that they have in place.
Okay, sounds exciting, yeah. But still, in terms of the names and the products, maybe you can classify this a little bit deeper and say there's the Overledger Network Enterprise and then Overledger Community Network. So what are both things, and how are they separated, or are they interconnected in a way?
Yeah, and similarly to Overledger Community, you have the same option. You host the Overledger Community gateways. They are they are interconnected in the way that you need to access nodes or resources or instances within the Overledger Network Enterprise or Overledger Network Community. They will have access to each other and process the transactions. So for that use case, if a particular client is running Overledger Network Gateway, that they're on the Overledger network and they need to process transactions that's within the Overledger community, there is that bridge, and they are interconnected. The gateways are exactly the same. That you can be an enterprise hosting a gateway, you can be a community user or a developer and be a gateway operator at the same time. So it's basically our way of having different service agreements and SLAs to enterprise customers, because for them to buy software and use software, that they have strict procurement requirements. So we're supporting that and complying to that. And then we're also opening up the ecosystem to gateways from community and from developers to run and have access to that network as well.
Okay, and then the last element out of the product overview is SEAK, the search and analysis tool. What's that about? What is SEAK?
SEAK was a product that we've built. It's based on our technology, and it's a way to have, if an enterprise or a government or a client wants to be able to have a blockchain explorer across all the different blockchains, SEAK is a way to do it. So it's kind of like a Google search that's specific for enterprise use cases. There's customers that are using it for transactions and checking things within different blockchains. And the beauty of it is, if you have an internal blockchain that you're running transactions and you want to see stuff happening internally, you want to see stuff happening on Ethereum and Bitcoin and XRP, XRP Ledger, you can use SEAK as the single tool to access all the different blockchains for performance, integrity, to check transactions have been confirmed, finality, all those sorts of use cases.
Okay. And now, like with the use cases coming, you also did a big announcement recently about the Overledger 2.0 full release. Can you summarize what had been released now?
Yeah, that was a very big update into the product. We've been working on that for quite a while. So what we've done is we've moved a lot of the core functionality, from the SDK and the front end into the API. And what that means is it's a lot easier for any developer or enterprise or whoever's using Overledger to call the API and say, can you do this? And the API handles the rest. So there's a lot of API endpoints, and that's all published in terms of the new functionality. Before you had to kind of code it a bit more, so there was a bit more effort. So we've removed that friction. The other bit is we've standardized. So as I said, using the API, if you want to talk to blockchain 1, 2, and 3, and 4, you use the same language for all the blockchains. You don't have to worry about specific, RPC calls, some node information, all those complex things that all the underlying blockchains have. You just call the Overledger API, say, tell me about blockchain 1, write to blockchain 2, subscribe to a service on blockchain 3, and you do that through a common ISO type of language that we've standardized. And the final thing is we've re-engineered a whole bunch of microservices and architecture in the back end to make it even more scalable, especially with the cloud deployments that we're doing. So Overledger can be multi-cloud, high availability, resilience that enterprise need, especially when the stuff that we're doing around national infrastructure. You really need that resilience built in from an availability perspective. So we've done a whole bunch of stuff in the back about auto scaling horizontally, vertically. It's kind of invisible to customers, but they need this sort of technology to be compliant to.
And now when we look at kind of the key question of the day, the truth about enterprise blockchain, I mean, you are very close to enterprises engaging with blockchain, but how big is the market at the moment already? And what's your feeling about enterprise blockchain?
I think enterprise blockchain is the biggest market you can actually go after. If you look at one of the HSBC reports from last year, they looked at what does digital assets look like by 2027, and it's in the trillions. They're looking at a huge number because the number of tokenization that is happening. You take a traditional security, you tokenize it, you make it a digital asset. Then you have payments, and then you have settlements, and then delivery reverse payment of digital assets. Enterprise is where the market is. On the large scale, what's happening is entire systems are transforming and replatforming and re-architecting to be compatible to decentralization. They're not turning off what they've got and putting everything on blockchain. It does not work like that for enterprise. They've invested tens and billions of dollars and pounds into their infrastructure, and that evolution over the last 10, 20 years, you can't stop that and start again on blockchain. But what you do is you take that existing investment into core infrastructure that enterprise have, and you make it and integrate it into blockchain and make it compatible to DLT. And that's what we're doing. Our core is to show how easy it is to integrate, through our API, whatever you've got that's existing, to be able to talk to different digital assets and blockchains and transact across them. It's a huge market, and we're excited because it's just at the beginning. We're only getting started, and the adoption is happening.
Okay, so we now know about the truth about enterprise blockchain, but what about the truth about interoperability? Is it really needed? I mean, if you look at the software market, Microsoft ruled it all at the beginning. So is it a winner takes all market, or is interoperability really needed?
I think interoperability is the key to mainstream adoption. And the reason I say that is, enterprise have been working with different types of blockchains. They have different needs. They have different use cases and requirements. You can't have every single use case and every single requirement work with one blockchain. Technology doesn't work that way. It's like telling everyone you have to use an IBM laptop. You're not allowed to use Macs. You're not allowed to use iPhones. You have to use Androids. People have different needs and different use cases, and different technologies fit those requirements. So blockchain is the same. If you're using permissioned or permissionless, they're the right type of technology for that particular use case, and that's key. Our opinion is we don't care what blockchain people use. We support all the major permission ones, all the permissionless ones that we already connected to, and more. We want to give our customers and our users the choice. And if you decide on one blockchain and it's great for that use case, and then things change, you want to migrate, or you want to connect your blockchain to a partner, or you want to transact on a different blockchain, interoperability is the key to access the other DLTs and the other technologies. But it also, from a business perspective, it gives you new customers and new markets to transact with. If you're limited to everyone within the one siloed walled garden of the blockchain that you're on, there could be thousands of other blockchains that have thousands of other users and customers that you don't access to.
Yes.
We bridge those islands. We bridge those networks, so you get access to a global ecosystem.
So bridging the islands also was a key discussion which we had a few months ago when we started discussing about our partnership. And now we recently just made it public also, that Quant partners with LCX to advance central bank digital currency settlement implementation. That was the headline. But Gilbert, can you give us a glimpse about what the partnership is about?
Yeah, thank you. We're very keen to work with regulated partners, and LCX is top of our list. We like the approach that's been taken to bring stability and compliance to this technology and to this market. What we're looking forward to working with you more and directly is enabling that integration of LCX into the Overledger network. So when we're running payments and processing all these transactions across all the different blockchains, we want to give people choice. The same way you want to go to the store and pay with one card, and then you change your mind, you want to pay with another card. That's all exchange. That's what happens in the background. We want to use the technology with LCX to bridge the first mile in terms of the payment transactions coming in, converting digital assets, crypto, QNT, dollars, pounds, euros, and then the last mile as well. So having that seamless bridge between existing currencies, digital assets, crypto and fiat with QNT within the Overledger network, and then out the other end is where LCX fits perfectly. We're looking forward to having that integration.
Excellent. Yeah, we are very proud to partner with Quant, and I think we discussed on several levels on research and development, but also on very practical things like being part of the Overledger network and being a key gateway there. But then on top of that, it's about the evolution of the industry as a whole. And you already mentioned that it's still at the early ages. There are trillions of dollars which need to be digitalized and put into a system which is working on a global level. And DLT and blockchain technology is perfect to do that. So that's why we also has invested a lot into engaging with policymakers, with central banks and other financial institutions who are driving that change. And a lot of them have built up deep knowledge around central bank digital currencies, about how blockchain could enable more efficiency or even unlock global markets to a new degree. Why do you think central bank digital currencies matter? Why are they important?
It's a very, very timely question. I mean, we started looking at CBDCs probably around 2017, 2016, before everyone knew about them. We've been working on it in the background, especially with the work around ISO. So coming from the regulator and policy setters working, within the Treasury in the UK and within the Bank of England and running the national infrastructure, we know what it takes to run payments and what that means for citizens, consumers, businesses, wholesale, banks, etc. Why it's important is, we have an opportunity, and it's the time is now where CBDCs are an evolution of the existing money that we use, and the evolution allows us to program money in a new way. And if you look at the BIS paper on how CBDCs fit into the financial system, the famous flower picture that they have, it shows that there is room within the financial system for wholesale and retail CBDCs, and it's a way to complement cash. And especially with COVID, people have been reluctant to use cash as we used to before. We're more digital. Everything's online. We're using cards to tap and have real-time payments and all of those things. But what CBDCs allows people to do is you can actually trust the digital asset. It's backed, by your government, backed by a central bank, and it has acceptance across the globe. You can use it anywhere the same way you're paying out of your bank account. And it allows you to program that payment and that acceptance. You could say, pay this electricity bill every month, only if it's over £300, use this account. If it's under £300, use this account. So you can add logic and programmability to money. And same for deliveries. Only pay this supplier if I receive this good on time, I was satisfied, and it got a 5-star rating, and then you can release the payment. So having that type of control and programmability for money, we've never had before. It's the first time. So this is an evolution of how money works. So CBDCs are serious. They are coming. I know there's been a lot of hype saying, we're going to use stable coins, and we're going to use crypto for this type of thing. I think they all have their place within the financial system, within that famous BIS flower. But I think banking stable coins will be issued and linked to the wholesale CBDC, and that's what we've been working on in the background, having a mix of a wholesale and a retail CBDC, with central bank issuing and the commercial banks issuing as well, and they're all interlinked, and allowing that CBDC to work within the existing financial system. Because like I said before, you can't turn off 30 years of infrastructure and the whole thing and say, okay, everyone use this now. It will break the system, and central banks can't have that. So they're important because it gives consumers choice. You'll have the option to use a CBDC the way you use tapping with your card, with debit accounts, with credit accounts. You'll be able to use CBDCs for different types of payments, large value payments, retail payments, and it allows you to use CBDCs instead of cash. So I think it's a very transformational and revolutionary technology, and it's happening right before our eyes. So we're quite pleased and privileged to be able to be at the forefront of this and be able to shape what's coming with CBDCs.
Yeah, I mean, being at the forefront, for us, both LCX and Quant network are really driving the market at the moment, and we both agree on kind of a similar vision that it's not a question of if, but just when. So central bank digital currencies will come. We all know that a lot of central banks are working on these topics. There had been a lot of proof of concepts already in the market. A lot of things had been made public with research reports and analysis. And of course, central banks are careful because they have a lot of things to lose. There are risks involved. And also, as everybody knows, there are big organizations typically who can't just do this as speedy and innovative as startups. So that's why there's an opportunity for stable coins and also private issued algorithmic stable coins probably now jumping into the market. But for central bank digital currencies, I also believe that this will be a key driver then of growth, of future growth, and kickstarting the market really to mass adoption. Ultimately, our kids and their kids won't even ask if it's a central bank digital currency or what kind of currency. It's just currency or it's just money as we are used to it now on our bank accounts, which is also the kind of a first digital money anyway. Now, like looking at all these developments with CBDCs, what are the key considerations for any institution looking at blockchain technology and DLT, and what are they looking at if they choose or if they build some technology stack?
Yeah, the first consideration is regulation. So the central bank or the institution has to have the right regulation allowing this to happen. And most of that has happened today. We've had the last couple of years of regulation playing catch up with technology, and most of as you said, most central banks and jurisdictions are looking at this technology. I think it's about 80%. There was another BIS paper recently that mentioned the different use cases and who's doing what: retail, hybrid, synthetic, all the different types of CBDCs. If 80% of governments and central banks are looking at it, then there must be a reason for it. And what they're looking at is, from a stability perspective, what does this mean to the financial system? Because if you think about the roles and responsibilities of the governments and the central banks, that they have to have stability and monetary policy. That they need to make sure the system is stable. And having worked in the government, in the treasury during the financial crisis, when a crisis hits, you don't want a contagion effect on the system, and so you're doing everything within your power to limit the risk to the system, because you don't want consumers to be losing money, and then the value of the dollar and the pound to just sink, and you don't want businesses to stop operating because they can't run payments, and the banks, it's a huge contagion risk. And being at the core of this, on the government side, it was a scary time. So their concern is how do they have stability, and how do they have the right instruments for growth? And CBDCs are seen as a way you can actually solve your domestic problems, from a policy perspective, but also from a technology perspective. How do you give citizens and people more choice? How do businesses benefit from programmable money? And if you think about trade, if you're exporting and importing and you have that linked to a CBDC, you can programmatically simplify how you run your business, because you could say, when this shipment comes, clear customs, pay the taxes to the authority, then pay the suppliers, and then give me the profits. So you can automate that whole process, whereas today it's manual. You're doing reconciliation every month, you're filing tax returns from the last year, you're doing all of this manual heavy lifting. All that can go away because you can programmatically simplify how the financial system operates. And so what they're considering is, from a technology perspective, how does it work with my existing processes? So how do banks put up collateral into RTGS systems? How do they settle between them? In the UK, we have real-time payments. That's something that I ran. And what that does is allows millisecond trading of money between the different banks, and then you're settling the difference between yourself and the other participants in the RTGS, in the central bank system. Real-time payments are a great technology, and having that choice, how does CBDCs work with the existing payment system? And so they're considering lots of policy, technology, and social impacts. And what they really want is not to force people to say you can only do this. They want the market to have openness and competition. So a lot of the policy decisions are, how do we allow an open system that's interoperable, that allows any participant to be a part of the system, and allows competition and growth in terms of GDP and what's happening with startups are bringing innovation and all this technology to the system. So there's a lot of considerations, and that's why it's taken such a long time. If you think about when CBDC started, it's been minimum 5 years that all of these things have been considered across the world.
Yeah. So you would say you were 5 years in development, and we read all the news. There's China doing tests in Shanghai and Shenzhen, and introducing these central bank digital currencies, but adoption is not really happening, even if they incentivize it. So where do we really stand in terms of the development? Will this happen anytime soon? What do you see in terms of product rollout?
Yes, we're seeing, I think one of the first ones was the Bahamas with the sand dollar. And that's, it's a small jurisdiction. They're able to innovate quickly and roll this out from an acceptance perspective. Excuse me. I think what we're seeing is a combination of different jurisdictions. Sweden has been looking at e-krona, closer to home in Europe. The ECB, there's a lot of public material on what's happening with the UK. With the Bank of England and what the Chancellor said from the speech in March. The US has been very pro CBDC probably for about 6 months, because they realized what the technology can do. I think where it's heading is it's coming, but it won't be a big bang. Every country in the world will have CBDCs. It's going to be rolled out the same way we've rolled out real-time payment systems. From my experience, I helped roll out the TCH, so the clearinghouse faster payment system in the US, where I used to work at Vocalink, and that it takes about 2 years, just to say we're going to do this, get it into production, stress test it, connect to all the banks, have all the user acceptance testing, and then it's live. We did the same in Thailand. We did the same in different jurisdictions, Philippines, Singapore, etc. Excuse me. These things take time, and I think CBDCs will follow the same method, because it takes a long time to be able to integrate, test, and put things in production.
Yeah. Okay. I think what will be very interesting for us to see is the vision around Bitcoin and a lot of Bitcoin maximalists, what they also like about is this global currency idea, this idea where we really, everybody who's contributing also gets something back. So there's not only a central entity controlling it, it's really decentralized. So as we emerge into this new future of digital currencies, I see also an opportunity of a decentralized global currency, like United Nations also establishing a playground where everybody can engage and discuss global topics and then do something together. Maybe there might be even a decentralized digital currency which will be officially supported by central banks, or something formed by central banks together. But ultimately, money is power also. And so there are a lot of facts which play into that consideration. We're already in 37 seconds, so I want to pick questions from the audience and give everybody a chance here. So again, you can post anything on YouTube. We'll pick out the best questions, and the best question will get a cap, an LCX cap sent to you free of charge, worldwide shipping included and everything. So let's take the first question here, which popped up from Alexei. He asks, does this mean a central bank that will use the Overledger will pay in QNT? Is it a joke?
That's a good question. So thank you for the question, Alexei. So what we're doing is providing the rails, the network infrastructure to be able to transact. If the application running on the Overledger network is a CBDC, then it has the same rules as the network. You have to pay the transaction fees in QNT, the license fees to be able to do that. It really depends if they use it. So I would love to see central banks using the Overledger network. It'll be a great testament to the technology, and there's a lot of interest in this space. And what we'd love to bring is interoperable payments around the world onto the Overledger network, so you can transact cross borders without having the limitations of the existing system. So if that's the case, we'd love to have that on there.
Okay. And then, as you're based in London or UK, I guess, there is this Britcoin, and MHK is asking, what is your opinion about Britcoin, and what is it?
Yeah, Bitcoin, I think it's something the media coined after the Chancellor's speech in March. So this is the UK's CBDC. And, you have, I think they even called it the Fed coin, the Federal Reserve's one. You have ECB looking at this, and the Bahamas one with the Sands dollar, as they call it. So this is a way where you can have domestic CBDCs. And what the actual interesting thing is, how do you have cross-border CBDCs? So if you're a jurisdiction and you're holding your local currency as a digital asset, as a CBDC, it'll be amazing to be able to have cross-border CBDCs, and how do they transact with each other? So how does the Bahamas dollar transact with the digital ECB, digital pound, digital dollar, whatever you call it? That's a very interesting area, and I see from the work that we're doing with the banks and the central banks, they're gearing up to be able to export their domestic currencies. The same way the US dollar is used globally for trade, I think it's about 70% the dominant dollar. What we're seeing is other countries trying to use their currency as the payment of choice. And if you didn't know, before the dollar, it was the pound. The pound was the currency of global trade for hundreds of years, and then it got replaced by the dollar. So I think there's room to shift geopolitical payments using CBDCs and export them across borders in different jurisdictions.
Okay, that's an exciting point, especially we had the pound, now we have the US dollar as the global reserve currency. Maybe we have Bitcoin as a global reserve currency. Who knows? But what's for sure is that we need settlement. And I think that's something where also we come in with LCX and with the partnership with Quant Network, is really how can we build a settlement network which works across countries, across different CBDCs and central bank digital currencies. So that will be something very exciting to establish step by step. Let's take another question here from Snow World. Gilbert, can you elaborate on the current status of ODAP and explain to what extent QNT integrates into it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So, well, that's a good question. So ODAP is the Open Digital Asset Protocol. So it's something that we created and invited MIT, and we've put that into IETF. And so this is a collaboration with a number of different partners. It includes telecoms companies, it includes technology companies, academia, governments, etc. So ODAP is a gateway protocol that we had the vision to create quite a while ago, because this whole idea of Overledger was not an overnight thing. It's been many years in the making, and so we wanted to create a protocol that can show the routing and the interoperability between the different digital assets. So for an example, you are a bank and you hold your own dollar. You created, let's just say JP Morgan. Like, you've created the JP Morgan dollar. It's on a global network. It's within JP Morgan. But how does everyone else know how to access the JP Morgan dollar? How do you get to it? Mm-hmm. And so ODAP is a way to create interoperable links at the protocol layer to identify different gateways. So JP Morgan would have a gateway in front, like an Overledger gateway, and it will allow the rest of the network to find where the JP Morgan dollar is and where the digital asset is, and to transact with it, but also create the rules of transactions and put in the controls from a compliance perspective. So you could say, I wish to transact, $100. Here's the KYC and compliance bit. Everything's done, and then it's authorized to transact, and the protocol handles that. So this is our way of establishing that mainstream adoption and creating this global ecosystem and this global network of networks where everyone can bring their own network. It could be private, it could be blockchain networks, it could be permissionless, mm-hmm. and having the gateways, an ODAP gateway, you'll be able to access the rest of the network. And so for us, Overledger Gateway is the first ODAP gateway that's being built, because we're at the forefront of that technology. There will be others later on, but we're the first out of the gate.
Okay, so being the first is important. Very often, a kind of first mover advantage is important. And there's a question related to that. So being the first mover also means that there might be other movers in the market. So SB is asking, what is the main difference to your biggest competitors? I would add, who are your competitors and what are the differences there?
Yeah, we've done a lot of market segment assessment and competitor assessment. So we're not seeing ourselves competing with blockchain interoperability projects. So there's a lot of blockchains out there that are built for interoperability use cases, something like Polkadot and Cosmos, for example. And so what that means is, they're building a blockchain layer on top of all the other blockchains, and that's not the ideal way for all use cases. What we'd want is a universal way to do interoperability, and that's what we've built. So, mm-hmm. So our competitors are really traditional banking systems and operators. Things like Swift, Temenos, FIS, Fiserv. Excuse me, sorry. And what we're doing is enabling the ability to have interoperability with the existing enterprise systems, with the blockchain system. So we're complementing all the different blockchains, and we're complementing how they interoperate, how they work with the existing enterprise systems, and that allows anyone to have choice. We're here to complement. If someone wants to use Ripple and XRP for a particular use case, through Overledger, we make it easy to do that. If someone wants to use DeFi protocols, through Overledger, you're able to use DeFi safely, because it's very difficult for an enterprise system to go and use decentralized systems and decentralized networks and DeFi protocols easily. So we bridge that enterprise, link from that enterprise legacy system to all the blockchain protocols and all the blockchain systems out there. So mm-hmm. we love collaborating. That's kind of our connect and collaborate. That's our motto.
Next question right away from Bob. Bob, any news on new patents? So first of all, what patents do you have right now? And then what can you reveal about new patents?
Yeah, we have all the patent stuff. It's quite public because all the patent offices have it. So we filed our first patent in 2017, which was how we do ordering and filtering. Since then, we've filed in different jurisdictions like excuse me, like the US and Japan and China and other regions. So that original patent is multiplied into many other patents. We've then filed the new thing that we've developed, which is multi-DLT assets. And so this is another way to bring mainstream adoption, is why create a digital asset on one blockchain. And we've solved that by creating a digital asset that runs on all blockchains at the same time. And that's quite a new innovation. It hasn't been done before. And so what this means is we can actually take any existing assets, such as Ethereum, and make it run on all the different chains at the same time. It's quite unique the way we've done it, and we filed a patent on that, which was late last year, and then we'll be obviously filing a lot more. And so that allows the core of central bank digital currencies to be interoperable, because you're creating a CBDC that runs on all the different blockchains. You're not forcing it on the one blockchain, but it applies to any digital asset, cryptocurrency, etc.
Mm-hmm. And now, like with the current market, there's a question from Moonchaser 2020. Fees are exorbitant. Will Quant wait for Ethereum 2.0 or exploring to migrate to other blockchains, cheaper ones?
So yeah, I think what we can help with that is we can help users and developers and enterprise pick the right blockchain for the use case. So if you think about all the transactions that they're processing, and Ethereum is quite high. If you have an MDAP, a multi-DLT digital decentralized application, the Ethereum fees are really high. You can't do stuff because you're limited. Using Overledger, you can just switch that to a faster chain or a cheaper chain, because that's where you want the best transaction speed or the cheapest cost. So we help fix that problem and that friction of high high fees and gas fees and all those sort of things. And then at the same time, if you're interested, you can make your MDAP run on all the different blockchains at the same time, with the technology that we have, and that makes it even more interoperable, out of the box. But what we're doing is, because we sit on top, so Overledger is that layer that sits on top of all the different blockchains, we can actually start looking at some layer 2 payment channels and say, how do you have multi-DLT payment channels that don't have the gas issue and the high fee issue, and can be fast transactions at minimal cost. And we could bridge kind of like in an interoperable Lightning network between all the different blockchains. So we're working on some really interesting innovation in that space, especially for the gas problem. We found ways to reduce the gas problem. And what we're doing is creating this amazing network of faster payments, basically across all the different blockchains without the gas. And so it's kind of like a multi-DLT Lightning type of technology.
Multi-DLT Lightning, that sounds great. And I think the more people are using it, that's needed also. And Jamie is asking, 2019, there was over 300 organizations using Overledger. And how many are using Overledger now?
Yeah, so thank you, Jamie. So that's a good question. So in 2019, we were running, it was Overledger 1.0, and then we migrated to 1.5, and then 2.0. So each release we've had more people sign up and use the technology. So we had 300 organizations and users and that back then. Right now it's a lot more. So our developer portal is I don't know the number exactly off the top of my head, but we've connected all the different test nets. So you have interoperability between Ethereum and XRP and Bitcoin test nets. And then we also have done that for mainnets as well. So all the users who need to use all the blockchains, you can actually use Overledger to access all the test nets at all the blockchains at the same time, all the mainnet blockchains at the same time. So it's a lot more. And I don't know the right number off the top of my head, but it's more than 300.
Mm-hmm. And now, related to that, from Geoff Lopez, which governments are open to using your product for decentralized and centralized applications at the same time?
Yeah, I think one of the things that was public is LACchain. So we mentioned that not too long ago. So LACchain is basically a regional, so all of Latin America infrastructure that we're laying, and that infrastructure originally it's starting with 12 countries, so 12 governments using LACchain early on. We're bringing interoperability to tokenized money, so having different use cases to create that interbank network for Latin America. And then linked to that is payments and remittance of wholesale and retail, including CBDCs for the first countries that are connected, and then it'll be rolled out to the rest of the region. And then to that Latin America region will then connect to the US and have trade corridors and payment corridors between them. So many. So the answer to the question, so we've done a lot of work there in Latin America. We've been doing a lot of work here in Europe and the UK on the government levels as well as the US. And we also have meetings in Asia Pacific with different governments. So Asia Pac is another region that we've been very close to it, especially in the beginning of January in the last 2 months.
Okay. Then we're jumping topics a little bit, but I think it's a relevant question for the community as well in regards to the QNT token. Will it remain an ERC20 token? So what's your token strategy?
Yeah, I think for now, yes. Like I said, the gas issues and all of those things, we think there's a way to solve it. Ethereum 2 is coming. They're looking at different ways of doing that, and the scaling and sharding and all the point of the proof of stake consensus and whatever. We've built it into Overledger at its core, so it is an ERC token. Overledger won't work without it today.
Yes.
If there's a better way to do it, we can explore it, or we can make QNT interoperable and make it a multi DLT QNT using our technology. Possibly, but we're keeping an eye on it. So for now, it is an ERC20. But if there's a better way to do it, we'll explore it and obviously respect the markets and how things are done today with the existing token holders. But for now, it's ERC20.
Okay. So and relation to QNT token from Videos Macher, how many QNT are needed to hold up to put up a gateway? How does it work?
Yes. So we've done it in a different way and fixed it to a dollar value, just because of the fluctuations. You can't prices fluctuate, as we've all seen in the markets today. And so what is going to be released when the Overledger network is released is the pricing and how much you have to put up and stake for licenses, and then the transaction fees, and how much you have to put into the payment channels and pre-funds or whatever. So all of that will be, if it's like, let's just pick a number. If it's like $100, then it'll be $100 worth of QNT. If that means it's 1 QNT or 0.1 QNT or 1,000 QNT, it'll stay the same dollar value to keep it consistent and easy.
Mm-hmm. And now talking about the company itself, there's a question from David010. What is your current headcount and where do you guys want to be by the end of the year? Maybe you can also talk about where is the company headquartered, where do you stand, when was it incorporated, and what's the current status?
Yeah, good question. So right now we're close to about 40 in terms of full-time employees. We've grown a lot. We've hired a lot during COVID and lockdown, which is quite a positive thing to be in a crisis like that. We need to be, from our estimates, double that. The amount of work that we have and the amount of engagements that we're doing and all the effort that we're doing on the product side and the tech side. So we're scaling up. We've moved offices to a bigger place actually this week. So we moved to another office in London, which is much bigger than the old one, which is exciting. And what we're doing is we're scaling by using trusted partners to build. So we've got partners in the Big Four. We've got partners in technology companies, and they're building products and technology on top of Overledger, so we don't have to do all the product ourselves. So we can focus on the core Overledger technology, and we can allow partners to help build and scale up. So we're doing that, and we're also scaling by the community. So we've got huge plans, especially with the Overledger network, to have hackathons, have competitions. This technology was traditionally a financial institution banking technology only sold to a bank. You couldn't just get this technology as a developer or as a hobbyist or a community member. So we've opened this up for everyone for the first time. It's a very open way to do it, and this will allow everyone to build these amazing applications on top. So we want to help support that, and we want to have people coming in and doing hackathons over the weekend and having pizzas and having competitions. So we're doing quite a few things in that space for this year. And we want people to build these amazing applications and technology on top of Overledger.
Okay. And now with the current state of the company with 40 people, a question from my side. So how are you funded? And are revenues coming in already? What's the growth plan on this side?
Yeah, that's a good point. We have revenue coming in. We've had that for quite a while. The company's been growing, trying to keep up with demand. We've been doing a lot in the enterprise space, and we're bringing that to the community space. We've got a good runway, and we've got a good governance. We're accountable to a very senior board. The people on our board are heavy hitters in the industry. They give us the right direction and the mentorship on how to do this, and we're scaling and growing. We've got offices, here in the UK, in Switzerland, in Europe, in Ireland. We've got offices in the US, in Australia. We're growing and we're scaling with bigger partners. The likes of Oracle, or we're very close to Oracle. I mean, they're one of the biggest software companies in the world. We're doing a lot of work with them, and they're using our technology for things. So Oracle blockchain platform is something that they released with Fabric. We make that interoperable. There's a lot of work we've been doing with them for their customers, and they're bringing us clients, and they're bringing us customers, and other partners are doing the same. So we're in that scaling growth mode, which is an exciting place to be.
Yes, and in terms of scale and product reach, there's a question from Shah M at LCX. Will LCX run Quant gateway so customers can gain some interest by providing the Quant liquidity? So first of all, answering that, yes, LCX will be running a gateway. We will be implementing that as a gateway partner there in the Overledger network, and so that's planned to be rolled out very soon. What's the rollout plan? When can we launch this finally, Gilbert?
Yes, so it's all happening this year. So the gateways are coming live with the Overledger network. So yeah. I just want to also thank the community. They've been stress testing and beta testing and alpha testing the early versions of the gateway, and we've been very close to the results and monitoring that and learning from that. So they've been very helpful. So those new versions of the gateways will be out as part of the Overledger network release. So once that happens, which is the first half of 2021, and once that happens, then we start integrating with our partners. So we've got lots of partners lined up who would, similar to what I explained with ODAP, they've got an existing network, such as the LCX network, and you've got all your ecosystem. If you host an Overledger gateway there, then you open up that network to the rest of the Overledger network and everyone else on it. So if there's 10 LCX size companies that are doing the same, then you can all interoperate and have access to each other's transactions, digital assets, blockchains, etc. So it's really building that network effect for scale through the Overledger network, through our partners like LCX.
And then even one step further from Fight Oma, explain what is the role of LCX in the Overledger network, and will this be the exchange for CBDC trades?
Yeah, thank you, Fight Oma. That's a good question. So yeah, I think we explained we see LCX as a core exchange and settlements between different digital assets, different currencies, fiat, the on-ramps and off-ramps that they have, and also CBDCs. So if you think about what I explained earlier, if JP Morgan dollar is being used for businesses or for different payment uses, how do you exchange one of those into a CBDC? How do you exchange that into Bitcoin? How do you exchange that into QNT? So all of those exchanges is something we want our partners to do. We're not operating an exchange. We're not going to be doing that ourselves. This is where our partners like LCX come in to exchange across the Overledger ecosystem between the different networks that are already connected to it.
Okay. And then another question from my side in that regard, what's the importance of the partnership with LCX for you, for Quant Network?
Yeah, I think people have been following and know my position on things. I really favor good regulation, good governance and compliance, because if you don't have that, then you're going to run into issues, and that doesn't work for anyone. It's not a nice thing to have to turn off something because of some regulatory issue because they didn't follow the rules. So if you follow the rules right at the beginning, you work with the regulators. I used to be a regulator coming from that space. You understand what it takes to manage the risk. So what is really amazing for me is LCX has taken that step early on, worked the regulation, worked in the right jurisdiction. Liechtenstein is very pro blockchain, very pro digital asset. They're very forward thinking, and working to get those licenses and what you need from a supervisory perspective right at the beginning to be able to do all these amazing things coming up. There's going to be a lot of players in this space who don't have that compliance, and when the regulation becomes harder and harder, those people won't be able to operate in this new world. But people like LCX will, because you've done it at the beginning, you've done it early on, and you're going to get that adoption, and everyone else is going to come to you. So we're quite excited with that approach.
Yeah, great. We're excited as well, and I think that the regulatory setup will be really a market entry barrier for others to follow on. At the beginning of crypto, it was very easy to just copycat any exchange or source code, or what happened with SushiSwap and the story and the whole drama over there. I think with regulation, these things won't be happening that quickly anymore, or even not happening at all, because they are market entry barriers. I mean, you can't just found your own central bank. You have to be elected to do that. So it will be exciting how this plays along the kind of the balance between innovation and compliance and regulation. But it will be also a topic about how big companies, key players in the market right now, will react to your innovation. And there's a good question here from David coming in. If Swift is a potential competitor as opposed to blockchain interoperability solutions, then isn't it a concern that such a powerful organization is better equipped and connected to develop solutions?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you, David. So Swift is instrumental to the core financial systems of the world. I mean, they've been around for decades, and without Swift, the systems of the world will stop. So Swift has explored blockchain. It's been quite public. They've been looking at GPI. They're not looking at blockchain in the same way of what we've been doing. Their approach is how to use blockchain for the existing processes and what's happening within compliance and reg and KYC and AML and stuff, with customers and onboarding and transactions, etc. What we're doing is not competing with Swift. Is we're taking the Swift rails are already there. That they'll always be there, because that's how cross-border happens, and everyone uses Swift. There's no alternative. But what we're doing is complementing what already exists with digital assets, and allowing a digital asset to talk to the Swift network through the banks, and Overledger is that gateway that allows that to happen. So we see us as another complementing technology that can actually benefit Swift. We're not competing against it.
Okay, and then looking at the company itself, from Carl, what are the key revenue numbers of Quant in 2020? And then from David, in relation to that, can you give an estimated revenues for the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to pass these questions. We're not obliged to provide. We're not a public company to provide, P&L and balance sheets to the public. As a company, we do what we have to for our regulation, and we do that. But we don't disclose, revenue and profits and that sort of thing to the public, unfortunately.
Okay. So there's another question here from David B. What are you most excited about the future? And that's a good question to jump in from my side. Also, what are you most excited about the future, and what do you see the 3 key top trends you see?
I think what is exciting for me personally is this time has been coming for the last 30 years. We went from manual paper-based payments and processes and transactions to electronic around the 70s. Really, that's when we converted to electronic, and things got a bit more automated. And then we went into digital, with high frequency trading and real-time payments and all those things. And now we're going into digital assets and decentralized, financial systems. It's exciting to see that evolution. right? And it doesn't happen often. It happens, every 30 to 40 years. And what I'm excited about is, we can look at the results of the work that we're doing in 10, 20, 30 years time and see that impact that you can make, and making a completely new financial system that works. It's an evolution of the existing system. Digital assets democratize value. There's the unbanked having market access to new markets, having cross-border trade. So we're going to be in a huge exponential economic growth phase of where we're heading. And this is enabled by the faster movement of value, and especially around the interoperability of this value, allowing it to cross borders, seamlessly and work with the existing financial system. So for me, it's all about innovation. We've done a lot of work in blockchain. I mean, the Bitcoin paper came out in 2009. I mean, that was 12 years ago. So a lot of work has happened in the last 12 years. We've learned a lot as an industry from what's possible. I really like what's happening in DeFi. It's an innovation hotbed. There's all these new things being developed, and unfortunately, things are going wrong and things are going well. And when it goes well, it's really good. So we're learning a lot from what's possible with DeFi protocols and DeFi systems. And the key is to take all of those learnings and integrate into the financial systems of today, and allowing that mainstream adoption. And that's key. Where we're heading is, if it's easy for a large institution to use blockchain and digital assets, they will, because their customers want it. And we're seeing that time and time again. People are moving into custody. People are moving into offering digital assets. And this is allowing new forms of value to be created, right now, which is an exciting time.
It is absolutely exciting times. And I think we already over time, there are so many good questions coming in. So thanks really to the community. This was a blast in terms of quality of questions. And there are like hundreds of more questions, which we couldn't pick this time. And so I want to thank you, Gilbert, for taking the time here today. As we end up, do you have any like last questions around LCX? Anything you want to know?
Yeah, I think, how can LCX differentiate and become that trusted, regulated exchange of choice for institutions? And would love to, help support that from our perspective. And let's show quick wins. Let's demonstrate value, and let's integrate LCX into the core financial system. I mean, it's an exciting time to do this. As I said, from the beginning, you've done it correctly with the right compliance and regulation. But how do we make that explode and make it global? And love to be part of that.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think in terms of LCX, we had been investing more than 2.5 years to get to these regulatory approvals. We invested a lot into a new technology platform where we built a complete exchange from scratch, which is working completely connected to our compliance suite, the crypto compliance suite, where we can monitor, track, help our investors to onboard quickly. So this combination of regulatory setup and technology is really one of our key USPs. And we're still at the beginning in that rollout of LCX Exchange. It's really growing super quickly. We're proud to have QNT there, as well as a trading pair with 2 trading pairs now at the moment. And you have to imagine, we launched Exchange in January. So in terms of the whole ecosystem now we're in, it's very exciting to see this shift from this unregulated Wild West into something where players need to be regulated. And we do see that now countries and governments are really going after unregulated exchanges more. Like lawsuits are out there in the market now. Some have to close down probably in the future. So and then probably last but not least, as we talked about these institutions and established companies, they will never work with some shady exchanges. So that's why it's important for us to build this infrastructure step by step. But we can't do it overnight. We already achieved a lot within 4 months now. And the first 2.5 years was really building the infrastructure. But now we are pushing it to the next level. So I'm very much looking forward, Gilbert, to do another session, probably half a year or a year from now, that we can talk about how we integrated the Overledger network and being part of it, the gateway as a gatekeeper there within your network. I'm also looking forward to talk about how we actually establish something around CBDC settlement. That's something which we have as a key plan in our business plan as well. And so I think a very bright and promising future ahead for both companies here. And again, thank you for joining here. Let's wrap it up. Already 1 hour, 10 minutes. Thanks for your time. And yeah, onwards and upwards.
Thank you, Monty. And thanks everyone for the really good questions and taking the time to watch. Thank you.
This is LCX Insights Live. For more insights, please visit lcx.com/insights and follow us on Twitter @LCX. Onwards and upwards.